If we're given a table with monopoly information as far as their price, quantity demanded, and total cost, we can figure out what their profit maximization level of output would be. So the first thing we need to do if we are given this information is we want to calculate total revenue. So total revenue is just going to be the price times the quantity. So if we do the first one, it's going to be 100 times 0, which of course is 0. So we would do that for each level of price or each level of quantity demanded. So I've filled that part in. So we would do 90 times 10 is 900, 80 times 20 is 1600, etc. So we would first again calculate total revenue. And then the next thing we want to do is calculate marginal revenue. How much additional revenue do I get when I increase that level of quantity? So the formula for marginal revenue is the change in total revenue divided by the change in quantity. So we're going to take we can't do anything for 0 level of quantity demanded, but when we go to from 0 to 10 units, we're going to go from 0 to 900. So our marginal revenue is going to be the change in total revenue, 900 minus 0. So we're going to take this row minus this row, and then divide that by the change in quantity, this row minus this row. So 900 minus 0 is 900. 10 minus 0 is 10. So 900 divided by 10 is 90. So we would do that again for each level of quantity or price. So I filled all those in. So again, we're going to go, when we go from 10 units to 20 units, we go from 900 to 1600. So we would do 1600 minus 900, that's the change in total revenue, divided by the change in quantity, 20 minus 10. So that's going to be 700 divided by 10, which is 70. We would do that for all of them. So we just take this row minus this row divided by this row minus this row. Okay, so the next thing we would want to figure out is marginal cost. And marginal cost is going to be the change in total cost. We've been given the total cost figures divided by the change in quantity. So again, we can't do one for 0. So when we go from 0 units to 10 units, we go from 400 to 800. So our marginal cost is going to be this 800 minus the 400 divided by 10 minus 0. So that's going to be 400 divided by 10 equals 40. And then I've gone ahead, I filled in the rest. So if we went from 10 to 20, it would go from 800 to 1400 total cost. So the change there is 1400 minus 800 divided by 20 minus 10 equals 60. Then when we go to the next one, 2200 minus 1400 divided by 30 minus 20 gives us 80, etc. Now, the way we find profit maximization, just like in perfect competition, is where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. So let's compare. So obviously we couldn't do one at 0. So if we are at 10 units, marginal revenue is 90, marginal cost is 40. They're not equal. At 20 units, we have 70 for marginal revenue and 60 for marginal cost. Now, I want you to note here that as we increase quantity, marginal revenue declines, marginal cost increases. So, okay, so now we get to 30 units. Now our marginal revenue is 50, our marginal cost is 80. And down here is 30 and 100. So at no point do they actually equal. It would be lovely if they did, and then we would know exactly which one to pick. But what we want to do is we want to find the highest level of output in which marginal revenue is still greater than marginal cost. We don't ever want to produce where marginal revenue is less than marginal cost. So we would do, okay, so here marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost, marginal revenue greater than marginal cost. Now here, marginal revenue is at 30 units is now less than marginal cost. We don't ever want to go there. So the highest level of output that we can produce and still have marginal revenue greater than marginal cost is 20 units. Okay, so our profit maximizing output would be 20 units. Now we also are going to have to figure out the amount of profit. So the profit is just going to be total revenue minus total cost. Okay, just how much we're bringing in minus how much it costs to make it. So for 0 units, our total revenue we had calculated at 0, the total cost was 400. So 0 minus 400, our total profit is negative 400. We have economic losses. So we would do the same thing for each unit or each level of output. So I've filled those in. So 900 minus 800, that's 100. 1600 minus 1400, that's 200. And then 21 minus 2200, that's negative 100. And then 2400 minus 3200, negative 800. So you can see then that our output that maximizes total revenue, or excuse me, maximizes profit is the 20 units. We saw that, we saw that here as well, 20 units where marginal revenue was greater than marginal cost. So that just confirms that that is where we maximize our profits.